Okay, well, it's NASCAR season coming to Daytona this week. We have 9 races left before the chase for the championship, so we're in the race for the chase. Welcome to the 10-minute drill. I'm Mike Cobb, and joining me this week is Brandt Merritt. Brandt, welcome to the show. You did a nice job filling in a couple weeks ago talking about the U.S. Open, so welcome back.
Thanks. I can't quite fill your shoes the way you do, but I'll try to compliment you today.
I have little feet, so
you do.
You could probably, my shoes probably wouldn't fit you. Okay, well, we're going to talk about NASCAR to start out with, maybe touch on a few other subjects this week, but I think the big thing is race is coming to Daytona this week. The Coca-Cola 400 used to be the Pepsi 400, and then before that was the Firecracker. Brandt, give us a rundown on where we stand in NASCAR. Kyle Busch is the points leader with everybody else chasing him right now. So 9 races left. Where things stand right now?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. There's 9 races until the chase. That's probably going to be the big topic as we're getting close here. Kyle Busch has been the dominant guy all year. He's got 5 wins. He's ahead in the points by almost 100 points, and everyone thinks he's going to be the favorite, but once you hit the chase, it's all going to change. I think the big thing that people are going to be watching is who's going to make the last 3 or 4 spots. It's getting really tight down at the bottom. I think the guy who really is on the bubble is Tony Stewart. He's 11th in points, and he hasn't won in 31 races. He dominated this past week in New Hampshire, and then just got hurt by a bad pit move. Went the pits at the wrong time. So he'll be one to watch, especially this week. He's got a good record at Daytona, and it's going to be a fight to the finish to see who gets those last spots in the chase.
Well, I think there are 4 drivers, 11 through 14. The top 12 get in the chase.
Yes.
So 11 through 14 are 63 points separating, and Tony Stewart's one of those 4, along with Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, and Dave Dragon. Mm-hmm. So that's really, I think, where the interest is going to be in these last 8 or 9 races is to see among that 4 and maybe 1 or 2 on either side how the jockeying goes for those last spots in the chase. Right,
and the other thing will be getting wins. They changed the system in the chase last year to where the drivers who have the most wins start with a lead in the chase. They start ahead. It's not really your point standing, it's how many wins you have. They reward you for that. So Kyle Busch has 5. A lot of the other guys are still trying to catch up to gain some momentum on them. But once you get in the chase, you're not separated by many points, and you can still make up a lot of ground those last 10 races.
Now, Kyle Busch isn't very popular. Why not? Why do people not like the guy?
That's a tough question. I think a lot of people see him as immature. He comes across as arrogant, and he's rubbed some people the wrong way, I think, in the garage. And I don't know the guy. We don't know the guy. I don't know his personality. He's kind of embraced the role as the bad guy. He seems to enjoy it. He would rather be liked and be popular, but he's kind of created a niche as the enemy.
He and his brother Kurt.
His brother's kind of helped his image out a bit. Kurt won last week, over the weekend, and he got fortunate by a pit move that he made. But he's kind of softened his edges. Kyle Busch still hasn't. He actually got wrecked by Juan Pablo Montoya this past week. They were kind of bumping back and forth, and then coming down the front stretch in a caution, Montoya just wrecked into him, and spun him around. And Montoya was penalized, but that just kind of goes to show the way other drivers view Kyle Busch.
Now, a lot of teams, looking ahead beyond this year, a lot of drivers are switching teams. Mm-hmm. Is that something? Why do you think that's going on? Is that just kind of the evolution of the sport? It's going to happen every few years?
I think that's a big part of it. Another big part is the economics have changed, where you have to be a team to really succeed. It used to be you could have one driver, 1-car teams fare well. Now you've got the big teams, Gibbs Racing, Hendrick Motorsports, Childress Racing, where they've got 3 or 4 teams, where they can share technology, they can share testing results, and it's kind of created more of a team atmosphere. So now these guys have contracts, and teams are jockeying for position, trying to have the best technology and the best resources, and these guys are also making more money, the drivers are, and they kind of are becoming free agents like in other sports and trying to better their situation. So a lot of it is the team nature of the sport. A lot of it is guys, look at Tony Stewart now. His contract's not up until 2009, but he's already looking around trying to see what his best deal is. And it's available to drivers now, I think, more than it used to be. Is probably a big part of it. So there's already been a lot of movement, guys, signing up. Casey Mears is going to be out at Hendrick. Clint Boyer just re-upped with Childress, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more as the season goes on.
Just re-signed with Roush. So when Toyota came in, there was a lot of doom and gloom Toyota's going to run all of the American car makers out. It's going to become an all Toyota circuit, all of that. But that hadn't happened, has it?
Not yet. This year is a little different. I mean, Kyle Busch is driving a Toyota. When Gibbs Racing signed on to do Toyota, that changed the whole perspective of Toyota. When they came in last year, they didn't have good teams that they were with. You know, you can be a great manufacturer and have great cars and great technology and great resources, but if you don't have great teams and great drivers, it's going to make a difference. And this year they've got Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin and some of the teams from last year, Brian Vickers with, I believe, Red Bull Racing, and some of the other teams have really improved. And so they had a steep learning curve last year, and they've picked it up this year a lot. And, I mean, Gibbs Racing might be the best team out there.
So it's not necessarily the car, the manufacturer, it's the team that wins. Pretty much.
That's a big part of it. Yeah. That's a big part of it.
Because
I mean,
Gibbs won with Chevy.
Right. I mean,
and now he's winning with Toyota.
And the manufacturers provide a lot of resources for the teams too. I mean, Toyota has a racing development administrator and program, where they try to provide resources and information and technology to the teams, and that's a big part. Toyota has a big edge on that, but you still have to deal with Chevy and Ford and all the other guys.
Okay, well, let's change subjects here. Talk about baseball. We've reached the halfway point in the season, and the best team in baseball at the halfway point. The Tampa Bay Rays.
Who'd have thought?
Well, you picked it. You predicted it.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah.
No, it is. I mean, there have been a lot of surprises and a lot of disappointments. The Rays, I think, are obviously the biggest surprise. Who do you see as some of the biggest disappointments? I mean, obviously the Tigers have to be in there, although they're starting to turn it around.
Yeah, they had a very good interleague play run, and that got them right back into the hunt in the AL Central. I think a big disappointment for me has been the New York Mets. They made a big trade to get Johan Santana. They had a huge collapse with a 7-game lead at the end of last season, and I really thought that they had the players to bounce back from that. But Florida's been a big surprise and taken over the NL East along with Philadelphia, and the Mets just haven't caught up yet. I think they've still got the talent to do it, and they just got Pedro Martinez back, but they've been a big disappointment to me. And the Yankees a little bit. You would have still thought they were touted as having all this great young pitching, and it just hadn't really shown up yet, and they've had some injuries.
Well, they got Joba Chamberlain up and going now, but the Yankees are always slow starters. Watch for them in the second half. I think they'll still be there. The Mariners, I don't know if anybody predicted them to be really good, but I don't think anybody thought they were going to be.
They're awful. They're awful.
They're the worst team in baseball. They're the Devil Mariners now. So
there you go. Yeah, we'll apply that to all the bad teams now.
Right. Okay, moving on. Just quick comment or two on Wimbledon here. A lot of upsets in the first week of Wimbledon, especially on the ladies' side, where Ivanovic lost, #1 seed. Sharapova lost as the #3 seed. In the men's bracket, it's still Nadal and Federer, I think, heading for a showdown, but there are some upsets there too. So you think that's good for the sport of tennis to kind of create a little bit of...
No.
No, you don't?
I don't.
You think people want to see the top,
it's just,
top players?
Especially in the United States, it's not a really popular sport. And, I mean, the big disappointment has been the American men. I mean, when Sampras and Agassi had the great rivalry, everyone wanted to watch it. It was really compelling, and Americans like watching Americans. And, I mean, all the American men are out after the first week of Wimbledon, and that's really going to hurt the popularity of the sport unless we can get some American men doing well. I think Federer and Nadal is a great rivalry. I love watching them play, and I think, especially in the United States where the ratings really matter more than anywhere else, you got to have big names, and you got to have, players that people are familiar with to really grab the attention and keep the sport popular. I think when you have all these upsets, it's interesting, but it's not, people aren't going to really watch.
Well, we've come to the point in the show where it's time for one more thing, Brandt. You got 30 seconds. What's on your mind?
Well, the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's been a fun offseason to be a Tampa Bay Lightning fan after probably their worst regular season in a long time. They fired Tortorella, their head coach, the guy who led them to a Stanley Cup. But the new ownership has taken over. They've hired Barry Melrose, who I think could actually be a good move. He's a player-friendly coach. They've signed LeCavalier to a long-term deal. Ryan Malone they just signed to a contract as a free agent, and I think it's going to be a fun season to be a Tampa Bay Lightning fan again.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Olympics and specifically the U.S. Olympic track and field trials. If you watch the men's 100 meter semifinals on Sunday, you saw a young man named Jeffrey Demps. Keep an eye on him because you're going to see a lot more from him. He just graduated from Southlake High School in Groveland. 6 weeks ago, he was running in the Class 3A regional track meet at Denison Stadium. So if you were at that track meet, you were watching a potential future Olympian. He signed a football scholarship with the University of Florida. He's going to add him in with Chris Rainey and some other really fast players, so it's going to add some speed to the University of Florida. And then in 4 years, I think you're liable to see him in the 2012 Olympics. So keep an eye on the name Jeffrey Demps. Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us. Brandt, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back next week with another show.